everybody, and welcome to the We Only Do One Take podcast. It's the only podcast in the world that is a complete shit show. I am Turch, and with me is my new co-host, the new CEO. It's also Turch. Damien, how are you, buddy?
It's also me. Thank you very much. I'm the very heterosexual Turch on the show today and replacing Kieran. And we're going to get bogged down in some serious details today. I'm feeling great. Thank you.
Well, excellent. Thank you for joining on the show, because I don't know if you know about this, but I'm going to tell you, as I did in the last episode. So Kieran and I did an episode not too long ago, and we recorded it, and then Kieran sent me the audio, and the audio sounded like he was underwater. And with that happening, I called him and said, what the hell happened? And we found out that he recorded, instead of using his beautiful, expensive microphone and audio interface to record his audio track, he synced up the Zoom call to his microphone and audio interface. But when he used the software to record the audio track, he'd actually synced it up to his laptop mic, and his laptop at the time was closed.
That was a lot of information, but okay. Well, as Kieran would say, that's why he's the CEO. He doesn't deal with these sort of details.
Well, you know, if
these are your problems.
This is why I'm not worried. Kieran's always said that he's gonna podcast at Jess and I's wedding.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And I've always said that's never gonna happen, because you can't even fix a simple audio issue like this, let alone going a whole night trying to.
Well, while we're doing this, is he doing his own podcast with Jess? Is that the plan?
Well, no. So he's done his own podcast with Niall.
Okay.
And I've got an episode out with Jess, and we recorded last night with a furry.
Oh.
Which is awesome. So
that's
this
interesting.
episode's coming out after that episode, but we were a bit sad because we felt like we were very behind with episodes. So we thought, let's get our favourite guest back on and do episodes by ourselves. And apparently the episode that Kieran did with Niall, I just had a chat to him, is a complete shit show, and he's got a lot of editing to do.
Well, let's try and one-up them.
Of course.
But let's try and do this in one take with minimal editing.
With 500 audio issues prior to this.
That's all right. Well, they've all been edited out.
That's the important thing. But Damien, do I have a rant for you today?
Do you have a rant for me today?
I always have a rant. I'm a very angry person.
Yeah, me too. But for some reason, I lose a bit of the mojo when I have to, when someone puts me on the spot and says, come up with a rant. I'm full of them, but
well, you know,
hopefully you can give me something good.
Yeah, okay. You've got a girlfriend. You know, I've got the fiance going on this side of the fence.
That's what I keep calling her, but all right.
And, you know, I noticed something that's very different between men and women.
Yep.
And look, women love shoes, right? Just in general, or
okay, we're definitely riding the same wave here. Yep.
And that's fine. Like, it's a thing on its own. But the difference between men and women is, like, if men love something, they go out of their way to buy the best of that sort of thing.
Oh, we're speaking the same language here. I'm gonna keep going with this one.
So, like, I love, you know, I play guitar, you know, and I'm like, you know, I've been playing guitar. I'm really into it. I'm gonna buy the best guitar I can buy, or. You know, if guys are like into video games, they go, you know what, I'm going to buy one really good computer or one console, or, you know, the best console or the best game or whatever it is, to sort of go through with it. Same with, like, you know, sports equipment, like golf clubs or power tools. If they're really into, like, doing DIY, or, you know, it's your job, you buy the best tools for the job. Like, you know, you don't mind spending that little bit of extra money, because you know, guaranteed, that if you buy the shit one, you're going to have to buy the good one eventually anyway.
Of course. And we've all learned from that lesson. Women, on the other hand, go for the quantity of, you know, especially with shoes and clothes and stuff, they would rather buy something that looks good, but is totally impractical when it comes to comfort, or totally impractical when it comes to wearing it in multiple occasions or multiple scenarios, that they'll spend $100 or $200 or whatever it is on something that they can use maybe once. And we are speaking the same language. Oh my god! Hang on a second. Beck, are you listening to this?
Dude,
the same. This is insane. Yeah, this is insane. I feel like you were tuning into a phone call I had the other day. But wow, okay. Now, how does this all tie into your life right now? What happened?
No, it's just a generalized sort of thing. Like,
Oh, of course it is.
It's like Jess will order things like, oh, I'm gonna go online shopping, and if I go online shopping, like the last thing I bought online and got delivered to the house was a pair of running shoes, so I can go start running again.
Yep.
So I'm like, great. Just gonna go onto the ASICS website. I know which ones are really good for running for me anyway, for my foot and stuff like that. And I'm like, great, they're $200, $250 give or take. But they'll, instead of buying a pair of Nike runners for running, Nike ones aren't very good for running.
Okay, fair enough. I don't even own a pair of Nike, but keep going.
I always feel like, they only last me like 2-3 months. The ASICS last me 6.
Yep.
But the Nike's $150. For a little bit more, I get more comfort for longer. So it's like, okay, let me go with that. So I buy a pair of ASICS, it comes, and I'm still running in them. It's fantastic. Whereas girls, on the other hand, will go like, oh, I went online shopping and I bought this and that and whatever it is. And it's like, oh, but I'm not. I was gonna wear this to my birthday, but I can't now. But I don't know when I'm gonna wear it. It's like, well, you spent 50, 60, whatever it is, dollars on this. What do you mean you don't have another place to wear this? It feels like you've had the same conversation recently.
So the other day, I was chatting to Beck, and she has more shoes than a shoe shop. She has too much of everything, and she won't admit it. So obviously, being in isolation, we're all stuck indoors. We're spending more time at home, obviously, and you start to dress more lazy. I didn't own a pair of tracksuit until I met her, so she helped me out there. So anyway, we're dressing more comfortably, and she messages me the other day. What do I wear? I've got nothing to wear. And then she has a wardrobe that is stacked floor to ceiling, side to side, clothes, shoes, everything. I said, surely you've got something there. And I said, you help me buy clothes, I'll help you do some shopping. Anyway, I turn up to go to her house. She has 6 new pairs of shoes. Not one of them that can be worn for home. Every one of them has a heel on it. Okay, fantastic. And then she ends up buying a top. I said, buy some more practical clothes. And she took that on board until I saw it. She whips out a top that has, how do I explain it? It's got one sleeve on it. Think of a jumper. Think of a jumper missing one arm.
I never understand. Like, Jess just bought a pair of slippers. And
Right,
she's
okay.
always complaining her feet are cold, right?
Yes.
And the slippers, I go, oh, good. Like I've got these slippers here. They look like monster feet, and they're great. They're all covered.
Yeah,
they're nice
wicked.
and warm, and this and that. They're fantastic.
Yep.
And then I look at Jess's slippers, and they've got no like the top, like they've got room for to show your toenails through because there's no toe on the actual slipper. I'm like, what's the point of that? It's like a that's like a slide. You might as well
We are one and the same. Okay, so I own a pair of proper Ugg boots.
Yeah.
It was a birthday present. I wanted real Ugg boots, none of that shit from Kmart that you wear for a week and the bottom flattens out like a pancake. And those people that you see at Macca's on a Saturday with the Ugg boots where the sole is on the side of the foot. So I received an expensive pair of Ugg boots. Spot on. They've lasted me a while now. Beck has several pairs of slippers, all of which have the sole is the thickness of a piece of paper. It is useless. So all I've learned is between guys and girls, guys for the most part will spend their money practically and wisely and buy things they want and need and can use. Women buy things they want, but not the need part of it.
Or it doesn't suit the need. Like, they go, yeah, I need a pair of slippers because, like, my old one's broke. And they'll buy a new pair of slippers. And it's like, yeah, but those are going to fall apart in a day or two.
Yeah.
Or they don't cover all of your foot. Or why is, like, or anything. It's just like, it's the same sort of thing. I told Jess, buy a good pair of headphones when we went overseas a couple of years ago to Germany. And she comes back and goes, oh, I bought these ones here. There's some like Sennheiser ones, really small ones. I'm like, but but because they're small, they sit wrong on her ears. So she couldn't have them on her ears for more than an hour or two. And we had a 24-hour, 18-hour flight to Germany. And it's like, it's not going to suit you.
They have their hearts. Their heart is in the right place, but for some reason, they get so many things right, but there's a few minor details they just keep getting wrong. Like the headphones I'm wearing now, not super expensive, but I bought these. These were $150. I've used the voucher to get these. Yep. I've had them for 5 years. No, never skipped a beat. Fantastic. Love them. Beck doesn't even own a set of fancy headphones. I don't get it. I see where you're coming from. It's a valid rant, and then you say, I'll buy them for your birthday. No, I don't need that.
No. No, I don't want that. I want something else. What do you want? Just get me something nice. God damn it! How do they get us every time? How do we still date
We fall
women?
for it
I don't understand.
every time. And as Seinfeld explains, that's why the gays lose so few. That's why they keep so many players.
Oh, far out. Now,
Hearts are in
apparently,
the right.
do you have a
But,
little bit of a rant as well?
it's a mild rant. It's something I had a bit of a discussion with a mate the other day.
Well, I thought this was going to be a mild rant, but this turned into a fantastic.
Yeah, because I think every guy can appeal to it. This appeals to every guy. And this one just appeals to anyone who's just sick to death to listen to Fox FM. But okay, before I start with the actual rant, can we? Footy players aren't funny. Can we just start with that? Every footy player that I've met isn't funny.
Yeah,
true. And they should get rid of Brendan Favola. He's not funny. His stories suck. And who's that other guy? Jonathan Brown. Every time his voice comes on, you have to turn the bass down in your car. His voice is booming, and he's less funny than Favola. So anyway, that's not the point. What I was going to bring up is, because obviously the radio plays music to death. They play the same two songs. Someone calls in and wants to listen to Bohemian Rhapsody for the trillionth time. Surely, who's the guy doing that? But anyway,
I can't imagine there'd be too many people. The numbers of the people listening to radio must be significantly just reducing, especially now that people used to morning time radio. If you had the spot in the morning time radio show, you were the biggest in radio.
Yeah.
Even compared to afternoon or night or this and that. If you had the morning the 5:30 or 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock slot, you were the biggest radio shows. But now with no one commuting or working from home, most people are starting work at 9, they're probably waking up at 8:30. I can't imagine the ratings for radio must be very high at all.
It's just dog. Have you listened to Triple J?
I haven't listened to the radio in a long
Triple
time.
J, I don't listen to radio on my own. I listen to podcasts, music like most humans would. I work on job sites. You hear radio all the time. A lot of it tends to be between, say, Gold, Triple J. And Triple J comes on. Every station is guilty of this. Pick a topic and they'll run with it. It's they'll tell a story. Favola will say, I was at home on the weekend with the missus and we made a sandwich. Oh, what was on the sandwich, Favola? And it's it was cheese and salami. Oh, that's excellent. Call in with your best sandwich stories and they will go for the next 3 hours with shit stories. So to hell with free-to-air radio.
The great thing about radio is on radio, I've been learning more and more about radio through another podcast, but apparently they can buy radio packs. So there's companies out there that put packs of things for people on radios to talk about, and they can purchase them. And I'm sure radio stations have this sort of stuff. So they go, yep, these are the big 3 news headlines. Here's a subtle take on either side, depending on what you want to take, and 5 topics to talk about. And that's why you have those sort of segmented parts in radio where he's we're going to talk about this, then we're going to stop talking about that, the news, the weather, the traffic's going to come on, and then we're going to go into this bit of talk about this thing that's been in the news or this social media video or whatever it is. And that's how they have to compartmentalize it. I hate when people go from working in radio and go, you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to start doing podcasting. Because in their head, they still have that same format of segmented parts. Instead of having that beautiful, they go, okay, now we're going to do a quiz on the podcast. And coming up, and then they go on the podcast, coming up, we're going to be doing this. You're listening to the Jim and Jim show. It's you don't need to do that. They're not no one's swapping stations in between your 2 talks of what you're going to do.
Does anyone listen to the podcasts of radio stations? Catch up on the Triple M podcast? Who is doing that?
I can't imagine iHeartRadio is getting too many things. I remember once I was going to try and bring a show like that and sort of compare it to our show. And one of the things that really annoyed me the most was they had Hughesy get me what was that, Help Me Hughesy show on TV.
Oh yeah.
And I hate Dave Hughes, Hughesy, we have a problem. And I found a podcast of it because it was being promoted on one of those podcast Facebook groups.
Yep.
I'm that's pretty weird for such a big comedian who has a television show to be advertising in these small podcast groups. So I thought I'd check it out. Thankfully, we have more listenership than them on the podcasting. But I listened to it, and all they did was get the show off TV and convert the audio into an MP3 file and upload it.
That's quality.
And I'm like, they did, like, you know, and like you can hear like, oh, we'll be back after this break. All right, we're back. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? Thank God it's free. Like, you know.
Thank God it's free. The last attempt to stay relevant. It's
so bad.
It's getting embarrassing, but. Well, yeah, the only last part of that rant, and this isn't really rant. This is also a question for you because I think you brought this up on a podcast that you were recently on the Shitty Song of the Week podcast.
Yeah.
And okay, there's some shitty songs out there. We know all the shitty songs.
Yeah.
Any song that has a mad rap section from the 90s, they're badass.
Man, that came in and they were like, what the hell is going on? It was a next.
I did not expect that. That really caught me off guard. That was like, I don't know the guy's name, but when he said like it's gonna be like a guilty pleasure, like I need to go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
I think just for the comedic value, I have to listen to that again.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking to a friend the other day about bands that need to quit.
Yeah.
And you happen to bring up because everyone says like I listen to a lot of stuff. You know, Spotify does that for you. But at the start of my Spotify journey, we'll say there's a lot of dad rock in there, a lot of rock from the 60s, 70s, 80s, that sort of stuff. And I was thinking, what bands need to quit? And I was thinking, okay, I the first band I fell in love with when I was sort of 18 that was into that 80s rock was Motley Crue. They had their farewell tour a few years ago, and guess what? Having a comeback tour. And then there's like Queen. The lead singer died 30 years ago, and they have released as many compilation albums as they have studio albums.
Yeah, it's true.
So there you go. And then I thought, okay, let's take some jabs at a band that is almost universally loved, Led Zeppelin. At what point does a band need to quit?
Well, I think Led Zeppelin quit or stopped making music because the drummer died, and they just said, no, it's not Led Zeppelin without John Bonham.
Yeah,
which is true, you know.
And they haven't released an album in 40 years. It's like, does a band have to stop playing? Like, okay, I'll give you a better example. We'll come back to the Led Zeppelin in a second, but Blink 182.
Yeah.
I think we all grew up. We all listened to these same sort of bands around the 2000s, and everyone loves all the small things. They're kind of songs that get everyone going. But at what point do these guys that are pushing 50 still sing about their youth?
I think, going on with that, I think a band that really needs to move on from that sort of youthful sort of vibe is Green Day.
Oh, okay. I thought about them. I feel like they're trying to stay relevant, though.
They're trying to stay relevant, but if you listen to their latest album, it sounds like a bunch of dads trying to pretend that they're cool.
Are they not?
It's just disgusting. It's like there's not a good they're early on like Supernova, like is that the one, or Dookie or whatever it was, all those two albums, that sort of era was like all the songs on the album were bangers. Like you go, yep, fantastic song, this and that. Whereas now it's like I'm trying to remember at least one of the songs from that album, and I listened to the album twice.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
and maybe it's been the same three guys for the past 30 years or whatever it is, and it's hard to come up with fresh new ideas when you limit yourself, I guess, to pop punk or American Idiot was sort of like for me their peak, and then after that it was sort of like
oh, for sure, yeah.
It's hard to keep coming up with fresh ideas. I mean, lots of bands break up for that reason. But in the same sense, a lot of bands stick together because they've got a winning formula. I mean, that's why AC/DC are still punching out records.
That was the example. Okay, AC/DC and Guns N' Roses, both bands which can be called the Angus Young Experience and the Axl Rose Experience, or Axl Rose and Friends. Both bands barely exist, hang by a thread, but they're still like... They're going to pull like an Ozzy Osbourne and come out on stage in a wheelchair one day. It's like, what are you doing? I remember like 10 years ago, could have been more, could have been less, but when you gave me a copy of Chinese Democracy, I think I listened to one song off that album and it stuck with me. I love it. IRS, great song.
Yeah, great song.
Because I remember you said it might have some Buckethead in it. I think that was the one.
Yeah.
And great song. Was it Guns N' Roses?
Yeah.
No idea. But what the hell? Like, it doesn't need to exist anymore.
But I have such like a negative reaction to Guns N' Roses. Maybe because of playing in cover bands and everyone going, you own a Les Paul. You are like, do you play any Guns N' Roses and Slash? Like, there's only so much you can live with that. But I think I have such a negative reaction to Guns N' Roses because like their first album is is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the discography is like almost garbage, apart from November Rain.
Oh, don't you want to hear Switch Hold of Mine just one more time?
But
I'm sick
their
of
first
death
album.
of that.
That's off their first album.
What was their first album?
The first album is Appetite for Destruction. Has Sweet Child
Okay.
of Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, Night
So it was all
Train.
the real bangers, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first album. Now name another song by them that isn't November Rain.
Double Talk and Jive. No, that one I just remembered because I remember hearing that years ago.
But that's the thing, like, would you go, oh, that's the Guns N' Roses song that I want to hear? No,
No.
you want to hear those 4 songs off the first album and November Rain, and maybe Patience if you've got some time. But other than that, what else do you want to listen to?
And yeah, it's like just some bands are greatest hits bands. Some bands, like you said, that was a great debut album. It really was.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to throw in the towel and say, this is not Guns N' Roses. This is a disaster. Like, give it up.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah, I think
So
Green
bands
Day's
that
a
need
bit
to
like that. Like, look, at least Green Day's all still together, and I can understand why they're doing that sort of thing. But it does get, like, Blink 182 is a good example because they record with the drummer, like, what's his name,
Travis Barker.
Travis Barker, and the bassist is still there, but they
Yep.
replaced the guitar player because he's off doing.
He's doing Aliens.
He's doing Aliens at the moment. But then Travis Barker doesn't go overseas because he's scared of flying. So on stage when they tour is only one original member, which is the bass player.
Oh, Mark something. So it's the Mark something experience, yeah.
So I don't know. As long as, I'm just happy with if people are still punching out some good music that I like, that's it. But I can understand completely. There are some bands that need to go, you know what, maybe it's time for us to be, call the experience something different.
For sure.
The Jimi Hendrix experience didn't continue on being the Jimi Hendrix experience without
smartest
Jimi
guy in
Hendrix.
music. He took all the creative control. He called the band after himself, and that's it. No, I don't know any other one in the band. I know Jimi Hendrix, and there was 2 other guys in that photo.
Oh, there's Mitch Mitchell. He's the drummer, and Noel Redding, he's the bass player. But then later on, I know lots about Jimi Hendrix. That's
Well, there you go. Everyone now knows those 2 people.
But yeah, whole bunch of sort of stuff. Damien, have you got any news for us that you've been scouting around that you want to bring up in the show?
Honestly, there probably was news, but man, you go through the news and it's all Corona related, and I have no patience for that. I can't be bothered talking about it. But I'm not going to do it.
I'm very happy to say that there's been some news.
Okay.
Coronavirus related. And now look, it's been mandated in Victoria anyway, or coming up anyway. By the time this comes out, that you have to wear a mask.
Yes.
And going out. So I'm very excited because I just saw this news article today that teenagers in the US are dressing up wearing masks, but they're dressing up as old people and going in and buying alcohol.
Hey!
So, in a pandemic, no one knows you're underage. That's what Gen Z have discovered when they've updated the fake ID for COVID era, hitting up liquor stores dressed as elderly grandmas wearing coronavirus face masks. The prank has taken social media platform TikTok by storm, and the video users are being bedecked as booze hound nanas, seemingly victorious, with bottles in hand, racking up millions of views. And they're just dressing up as grandmas. They're getting, a walking cane or a walking stick, looking old, this and that. Like, doing a little bit of fake makeup to look old, and then walking in, you look over the age of, 21 in the US. They've got the face mask on. They can't tell you to take it off, so you can't look at the full face. And they're walking out of there with bottles of booze.
Genius. And this is the government saying we can do this.
Well, I mean, it's mandated that you've got to wear a mask. I'm more upset with the Australian government here, at least the Victorian government, because they've really fucked the pooch when it comes to these masks.
Right? Okay, how so? Because I've got my own solution, but keep going.
Okay, good. Well, I just got problems.
Right, okay.
The problem is, they've said, you have to wear a mask. I was like, okay, that's fine, you've got to wear a mask. But if the government has mandated the masks, and they don't say, hey, you can't inflate the price of a mask, then people eventually there'll be a shortage, and people will pay thousands, be paying hundreds or up to thousands of dollars for boxes of masks to protect their family, or they receive a $200 fine.
Yeah.
So they're filing, potentially giving fines out to people who can't afford to wear a mask.
Oh, it's good. If this happened with toilet paper, it's going to happen with masks.
Exactly right. And secondly, okay, that's good. So if they don't put a cap on that, how can you help the average person afford masks?
Mm-hmm.
Take away the GST off them, like we do fruit and vegetables. Or, give back, say, yep, masks are now part of the Medicare levy, which we all pay.
Yep.
And they're freely available at your doctors.
Well, there you go. I wasn't sure. Like, if you didn't have one, could you go to a doctor and just get one?
Well, I don't think you can at the moment. But in the same sense, they've got, if you can't get a mask, you can wear a scarf around your face. And I'm like, wait a second. Now I'm worried that the mask itself doesn't have any ability to block the virus.
Well, get ready for what I'm saying.
Yeah, if the mask, if a scarf can do the same job as a mask, where you have to pay a premium, now I'm worried. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a doctor.
What you just said, no. They didn't say you have to wear, a medical mask. You can just wear some sort of face covering.
That's true.
So these Muslims have been on top of it for over 1,000 years. But it's like, no, I suppose you can wear like a motorbike helmet. You can wear a balaclava if you want to, and no one can tell you to take that off. So what I'm wearing, because as of tomorrow where I work, the builder has just stated, no, we want everyone to wear them as of first thing tomorrow morning. And I've got a bag of bandanas that I bought for another reason years and years ago, and one of them happens to have a beautiful American flag on it.
It's when you wanted to join a gang. I know that time of your life.
Well, didn't we all go through the gang stage? So I was going to do at least half of this. So I've got a bandana with an American flag on it. So I'm definitely wearing that tomorrow. I also have a hat that says "Make America Great Again," and I wasn't sure if I'll definitely get looked at funny, but I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do. But hey. We're all wearing masks. Why not wear the hat with the bandana combo?
Why not? Why not? I'm just waiting for Kanye West to win the 2020 election. That's.
You mean? I think you mean President Kanye West.
Finally, we'll have a black person in power with a white wife, and they're both billionaires.
What could go wrong?
Everything. How much more of it? He doesn't care about gays. What are they going to say to him?
I don't know what his policy is. I don't know what
Christian.
he's doing.
I don't know if he's been Christian all the way through his music. It's amazing.
There was that funny thing he did on a hill. Like I don't listen to Kanye. I'm out of the loop on his stuff.
I can't wait for him to get up there and just be like, President. Have you seen that clip? And he's like, George Bush doesn't care about black people. Have you ever seen that clip?
Can't say I have.
It's during Hurricane Katrina, and they do this live aid thing, and he's standing next to Mike Myers, and they're like, and Mike Myers like, we'd really like reading the teleprompter. We'd really love your support through this time. Help us donate this and that to help people in the Hurricane Katrina affected areas. And Kanye West is just like, it's his turn. It would be really good if you help. And then you can see him go right off script and go, George Bush doesn't care about black people. And you can just see Mike Myers look at him like, uh-oh. And then they cut straight away. It's such a good clip. One of my favorites.
I'll go check that out after this. But
so
why not? I don't. Everyone's like, Trump's an idiot. Well, I can't do the job, so what do I complain about? But hey, if we could rock the boat a little bit more, it would be hilarious for another 4 years to get some great Kanye news.
As long as he keeps pumping out good albums, I'll still be listening.
Does he still do that?
He does. He's just released a gospel album. It was fantastic.
I'll check that out too. There you go. Praise Kanye.
Yeah. Now, Damien, I said to you today when we were getting some prep done for this show, I said, I've been wanting to do this with Kieran, but I thought I'd bring him with you because I think it'd be just as fun. And I said, hey, I've got a podcast that I've been listening to other podcasts to see what's out there, to sort of see what's going on. Would you like to listen to a podcast that I've been listening to, and we sort of critique it? And I sent you a podcast called After Adult.
Mm-hmm.
And this podcast is run by a porn actress and her friend.
And I didn't know about that until after I listened to it.
Yeah, good. And this podcast here, I thought we'd share it because I think that you listened to the episode.
I did.
And it is easily one of the worst podcasts I've ever listened to.
It was a podcast, I guess. What can I preface? I just want to preface the whole podcast so all the listeners know what we're getting into. For those who listen to previous episodes, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so if anyone listened to the episode with the, it's called The Red Flag with the Socialists.
Yes.
Okay, and you said a few things, and one of them was, and I felt the exact same way, was how you equated it to the end of Billy Madison, where the guy hosting the game show said, everyone in the room is now dumber for having listened to it. That is exactly how I felt. And between these two women for, I don't know, maybe over the course of an hour, I guess you could say they're saying words, and it's just a flurry of words for an hour, and nothing is ever. There is no real content in this, but I'm sure we can dig pretty deep.
We can dig into the content. Look,
yeah.
I've emailed you a bunch of
fun.
clips. I've emailed you a bunch of clips. I've got the clips ready. How about we listen to clip number 1, which I've called Summary of the Show.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, let's go.
Hi.
Hi. Happy Saturday to you.
Happy Saturday. I don't feel good.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You guys are sick.
I have a sinus infection. I have cramps right now. But don't worry. I have a heating pad.
Yay! Yay for heating pads. Have you taken ibuprofen or Tylenol or whatever?
No, I'm on so many meds right now. I just forget when.
Okay, did we both listen to the summary?
The summary of the show, track number 1. Now,
that's...
let me put this in perspective for the audience that is listening to this. That was the first bit of their show. This porn star and her friend. This show here, usually when you introduce a podcast, like what we do, we say what the show is, maybe a tagline, who's on the show, and then you go into the content. This show here starts off with that, and this show here, with, mind you, a porn star on the show, is meant to be about bisexuality.
What I will say, spoiler alert, I did lose interest towards the end of it, but spoiler alert, they don't mention this, mentioning the name of the podcast, what they're talking about, all their names, till approximately 20-odd minutes in.
Oh, that's great. Actually, click on track 11.
Done.
If you found this, how would you not know what you're listening to?
I guess.
To be fair, I get their point, but it's just stupid.
But you know what the worst thing is about this show? They don't
Really,
even know
you
the
can nail
name
it
of their
on one
own
thing?
show. Click on number 12.
I didn't know the name of the show. I thought it was just called Bisexuality, and then I looked it up later and said After Adult or.
Or click on track number 12. They don't even know their own show name.
Anyway, this is After Adult.
After adult ? After adult, period.
Go listen.
It's like now it's like after adult. It's like after.
Just
after
go listen to
after
My
adult.
Favorite Murder instead.
Which I was doing literally on the way here.
That was 15 seconds of just oxygen thieves.
Now, there's one really important thing with podcasting that I've learned throughout my time doing podcasting is that if you've got a relationship with someone, it does come across when you do talk to them. But I find the more of a relationship you have with a guest or your co-host or whatever it is, you become better at broadcasting and you sort of fill in those spaces of blank space on the show with a voice.
As in, you mean like some sort of chemistry between these two
Some sort of chemistry,
supposed co-hosts?
or
Yeah.
at least like if you're going to talk about a topic like bisexuality or whatever the topic that you are going to talk about, you have enough knowledge to fill in those gaps. Or if you do not have that knowledge or you have big gaps in your show, that's when you edit the shit out of your show and get rid of those gaps and those ums.
I don't think there was any thought into any of that as far as the information editing. That was
I've got a few clips here.
that wasn't even at the bottom of the to-do list.
I've got a few clips here. So the first one, this just shows that they don't edit. Click on track number 2.
Okay.
Now, I'm just going to assume that was a chair and not someone farting.
It could be both, but you've called it chair, so we have to assume it's a chair.
I'm going to assume it's just called chair. But you could have easily heard that in the playback and just gone, maybe I'll just get rid of that one line there. And
I'm more amazed you found a 2-second clip. Like, my brain would have just, glossed over that, but can't unhear that now.
And then let's click number 4. This is how professional, especially I think the co-host is Rachel, is at broadcasting her voice. Number 4.
Yeah.
What else?
That's a good idea.
I'm going to Kleinfeld's bridal.
Ooh.
And my mom and I are going to, and Jude is coming with us too. We're going to New York because one of my uncles was like, let's do a cousin reunion. Woo!
That's so fucking cool. So you get to get like a big fancy New York.
You know that meme where the kids talk? He's like, "Have you ever want to do it and if you in your mind? Have you ever seen that little meme of that kid? Have you ever heard that meme before?"
I think I have.
Yeah. That's what that reminded me of. I'm sure that those were all words that she said, but none of them were enunciated in any sort of way.
So far, this is all the fluff that we would talk about before the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Once we hit the word go, like click go, that's when you start talking about the topics you have ready to
That's
rock
when we
and
get.
roll.
That's when we get our 100 words and we put them in sentences.
Yes. Anyway, so there's another character in this podcast. I don't know if you picked up on this, but
no,
Siri
go for it.
is there. So she's the main host. She's the porn actress. Then there's Rachel, her friend. And in the background of all of this, there's Rachel's fiance, I believe, Jude.
Oh, Jude, yep.
And I feel really sorry for Jude. I've got a lot of clips here about Jude. But the clip number 3, let's introduce Jude.
Hey, Jude.
I asked Jude this the other day.
Who's Jude?
Oh,
Because I don't think we've ever said
Jude's my fiance.
He has a name. His name is Jude.
Hi. That's him in the background.
Hey, Jude. I mean, I'm sure that's literally like every day.
Yeah. Are you okay if your name is out there? Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, I asked Jude this the other day when we were picking up our respective prescriptions.
What was that?
So, you know what? If you're going to have something like that, if you're not sure if someone's happy being on the show, that would be something I would clip.
Oh, for sure.
And just start the talking again. So if I flubbed up something like blah, 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 I would just start the sentence again and just cut out that bit of the podcast and make sure it flows through. But obviously I don't do that. But Jude, I feel, is in an abusive relationship. Click on number 7.
Live from Kleinfeld's!
Anyway, so that's what's going on in my life.
Jude's silence is like the third podcast co-host.
Yeah.
Jude has been roped into this show. And he can tell like he just doesn't want to be any part of it. And this is way later on in the podcast. Mind you, we still haven't talked about bisexuality at all
We've
yet.
touched on nothing, but yeah, keep going.
Click on track 27.
I don't know. Not just more because I'm very insecure, and so I like to know that I have this person's undivided attention at all times.
Mm-hmm. Literally all the time. Like
Literally
the second Jude leaves the room, you're like, "Hey!"
I'm like,
Hey!
it's
Where are you
like
going?
Schrodinger's Rachel.
Oh my god.
Thanks for
Where-
being in the room.
where is the
You're so
conversation
good
I'm
at
alive.
giving your undivided attention at all times.
Thank you.
So not
Someone
only
needs to edit this
this
podcast.
woman needs constant attention, but they also don't know anything about noise gates or compression.
Yeah, the compression was a big one because I'm gonna pat you on the back the whole time once we finish this podcast. But it's like things that you don't consider until I suppose you've listened to a really shit podcast. But it's like the amount of times they scream and you just fucking blows your ears
far
up.
too loud. Like you want to keep
Way too loud.
So what I'll tell you, noise gates get rid of some sort of background noise, rumbles and this and that. Whereas compression, what it does is it takes those really loud sounds and pushes it down so it's at a normalized volume, and you can bring quieter sounds up. So when you do listen to a show, it's a lot more even and you're not blasted in your ear. Now, I'm not going to change any of the audio from their podcast of all these clips because that would be unfair. But you will notice that our podcast is a lot more even, and that's very important. Now, Damien, you know what else I really hate that women do more than men?
Uh-oh.
They sing for no reason. Did you notice anything about this podcast here?
Was it? No, I don't know.
Well, I feel like they sang a lot. So let's go to track 13.
Okay.
You're the
Oh, is this the karaoke thing?
in my life. You're the inspiration.
How does the rest of that song go? I don't know.
It's very important. Like, they obviously don't know it's Chicago, you know, and everyone loves 80s Chicago. No one likes 80s Chicago. So I thought to myself, hey, I'm an audio editor.
Yes.
Like, I do this. I'll give them. I'll put them in Chicago. So listen to track 14.
All right, what have we got here?
You're the meaning in my life.
You're the inspiration.
You bring the meaning to my life.
You're the inspiration.
Wanna have you near me?
Infinitely better than the entire podcast.
And then they talk about doing that at karaoke, and Rachel I think Rachel may have autism, because she takes so Siri goes to Rachel, hey, we should go to you should sing that at karaoke, or someone should sing that at karaoke, and she doesn't get it at all. So number 15.
That she should do that at karaoke.
I can't do karaoke right now because of my sinus infection.
Not literally. I'm not telling you to leave our podcast recording, walk down the street, and immediately go pick up a mic and do karaoke.
It's also like the place where we do karaoke doesn't start karaoke for like a. No, they're still open.
So she just thinks that, I've been told to go do karaoke. It's like, well, I can't right now. I'm unwell, and the karaoke place isn't even open right now.
I don't think education is high on the porn star list of things to do.
It doesn't really.
No.
Start. Now, you brought this in before. Speaking of pre-show preambles, you said that their Patreon seemed like a scam. Well, that was the vibe I got from you.
Oh yeah. Okay. We all watch YouTube videos, and a lot of them now are turning to Patreon, and I totally understand it. And the ones that I don't pay for any of them, to be frank with you, but if I had to pay for someone, it's going to be someone who provides content, something something that I can't get anywhere else. Maybe it's something they're going to teach me, something that's maybe something tangible.
Yeah.
This just seemed like a rort from the start.
Okay.
So before they even explain what their show is about, they do their housekeeping at the start, and they start demanding money for ridiculous things, and
well, I've got
you'll
a bunch of clips that go through that. So let's go to track number 16.
They're going to explain everything they're going to provide for their
Let's
fabulous
go. Track
podcast.
16.
Please, go for it.
So we should plug our Patreon real quick.
Give us money. I'm just kidding. You don't have to give us money.
I mean, you
But
can
we would
if you
like
want
it.
to.
But we'll
like a
give
small
you
amount.
things back.
Okay. So they have a bunch of tiers on their
Yes.
show. They have a bunch of tiers, and there's like the top one is a $100 tier.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what you get for $100.
Please tell me more.
Track 17.
So but things that I won't do incest. I won't, like, basically anything. I'll write about stuff that in the kink episode I don't like, but nothing, like, no incest, no non-con,
Okay.
no, just keep it cool, but keep it.
So if for people who didn't understand it, that's how she described it, and I had to listen to that multiple times. But apparently, according to their Patreon, for $100, you can get a fan fiction of your choice with any cross characters. So you can get Spider-Man having sex with Harry Potter, or they talk about Captain America, written into a fan fiction by Rachel for $100 support.
Only for $100. Wait, could you find? Because there was a thing that because there was adult content, they couldn't post a link or something like that, and you had to search for it with the address.
Yeah.
Did you actually see their Patreon page?
Well, I went to their Patreon page, and currently it's under construction, so they've closed it down for a little bit, obviously during this COVID stuff. But I think their podcast is sort of offline for a little bit until August. That's just
fair
one of
enough.
those
Okay.
things. But for $100, that's what you could get.
I wanted to know what person would give anyone like they exist. These people do exist, but who the hell is paying $100 for this scam?
This is definitely a scam. Well, speaking of
This is the start of a scam.
Well, I thought to myself, this is more like a pyramid scheme. You keep paying the top person else. It's like you pay 15, I'll pay 100. I thought to myself, hey, how much does fan fiction actually cost?
I believe you read some fan fiction at one point, and Kieran wasn't impressed, but I loved it.
I'll send you some links, buddy. You can read the rest of it. But I thought to myself, like, there's got to be people out there, like, you can go on DeviantArt and people write their own fan fiction, but what if I wanted a personalized fan fiction? And so I went to a website. Have you ever heard of a website called Fiverr?
Yes, I used it once.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Well, for $7, the cheapest one I could find was a personalized fan fiction of any type of erotica that I wanted. Was $7.50.
That's good value.
It's good value. It's good value. Now, look, it may not be from the prestigious writer that is Rachel. I don't know anything. I couldn't find any information about her background, especially within the field of writing. But
Do you reckon you just pay someone on Fiverr?
But I could just pay someone on Fiverr, and I guarantee I get a very similar, if not exactly the same type of result.
Hey.
But the scam continues.
We'd all do the same. Carry on.
The scam continues. So let's.
What else can I get for $100?
Well, you can't get anything for $100, but you can for $15. Track number 18.
So one of the tiers, the $15 a month one, does come with like one of our newly minted podcast stickers with it.
Let me see.
But
okay, so if you subscribe for $15 in a month, for the month, you get a sticker sent to you.
No way.
That's amazing.
A whole sticker.
A whole one sticker. But then one of the hosts, I think it's Siri, says she actually shows you how you can scam them.
So righty, okay, so how do we go about doing that scam?
Yeah, listen to this. So she's telling you how to scam them out of money.
Right.
Number 19.
Here's the thing, people. You could theoretically join at the $15 level. I mail you a sticker, and then once you get the sticker, you're like, cool, I'm gonna just go down to like the $5 a month level. Like, okay, nothing wrong with doing that.
Why would you do that? You've got the thirsty guy there. Keep it at 15.
So I now think to myself, does that mean she thinks that sticker alone is worth $10?
Well, I don't know what she's thinking. I don't think there's not much thinking going on here.
No. So after all of this,
yes.
Damien, in the show it's been 23 minutes, and this is the first time in the whole show of a 55-minute episode that we start to talk about bisexuality. Click on track number 20.
Gotcha.
I love it.
I'm bisexual too. Well, I identify as bisexual and queer. Sort of depends on the day. Most of the time it's just bisexual. Bisexual is the first thing that I heard, and I was like, oh, maybe that's me. But then I also, I heard it in high school, and then was like, oh, but bisexuals are bad. They can't choose, and they're sluts.
So this woman's bisexual, and she's heard that they're bad. But this is the first time we hear about bisexuality on the whole show.
23 bloody minutes in. This was the point where I thought, okay, how long does this go for, and when can I stop listening? but there was a subtle hint at the title of the episode, so I'm like, all right, well, let's keep listening. Maybe there's some real content here.
I know. Okay, so number 21 is a clip I just said. I've written pulling a Kieran, but I can't remember why.
It's probably getting bogged down in details, but let's find out.
Clip number 21.
Let's call him Pete.
Pete Noyes.
Can I just go on a tangent real quick? I love the name Pete. That's it.
That's not really. Okay.
I just have met so many people in my life named Pete or Peter that I really like
Pete,
that name.
Also,
I was obsessed with Peter Pan as a child.
Okay, what are you taking from that?
Continue.
I know why I called it pulling a Kieran, because Kieran does that on our show. He'll just be like, just a second, quick tangent. I drove a tractor once. Kieran, what's it got to do with anything? Track number 22. I've written. They have no idea what they're talking about. Track number 22.
So even though some people, if I explained my sexuality without using label, if I was like, I'm attracted to the person based on, you know, not based on their genitals, but based on, you know, their, what's in their heart and, you know, if they fine, you know, then.
But they fine.
But, and are they fine though? You know, I think a lot of people would then be, oh, well, then you're pansexual. But that's not something that I identify with. I identify as either queer or bisexual.
Yeah.
So I do understand what you're saying.
Okay, good. So I had to understand for myself what is the difference between pansexuals and bisexuals.
Yeah, I had to look this one up too.
So bisexual just means that you like both guys and girls. No, that's simple. And pansexual means you love to fuck Teflon. That's what I got out.
Wait, say that again. Say that second bit.
They love to fuck Teflon, like the pans. No, wait, wrong.
Whoa! Did I read the wrong definition?
No, so apparently, pansexuality is not limited to sexual choice with regards to biological sex, gender, or gender identity, and bisexuality is just about the gender.
Okay, the bisexual thing. I'm not going to quote Dice Clay on that one. That's too vulgar for this podcast. Okay, but I kind of get it. There's guys, there's girls. Let's not go down the rabbit hole, but I'm just going to say, from my opinion, there's two genders. Yeah. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
If you want to fight me. But the pansexual one, I don't understand what it is. Like, there's a trillion of these made-up genders.
I guess it just means that you are also accepting of the trans community. Within that.
So it's just like okay.
Yeah, it's just a coverall, it feels like.
Okay. Well,
but I don't get that, because it's like trans people in general are trying to transition from one to another. So if you're a trans woman, that means you identify as a woman. So that's just your gender's now woman, right?
So you're now just a bisexual again.
Yeah.
But if you end up with one of them, now you're heterosexual again. This whole thing is just going around in circles, just putting these stupid bloody titles on it that they sound like they're from Triple J.
Yeah. But you know who they don't like? They don't
Who's
like
that?
Tequila.
I didn't know who that was.
Okay, good. That's number 23.
Okay.
For a while. Yeah. Speaking of bisexuality.
Yeah.
Or like
that's why I came back.
Some of the early open bisexuals, which unfortunately Tequila's.
Yeah, they don't like her because I think she's a Trump supporter. I'm pretty sure she's a Trump supporter at the moment. Oh, you're good?
Yeah, I'm all good.
And then if we go to track number 24, we can see who's actually confused.
Because I'm very confused. I didn't know who she was, and there's like a personal beef with her. I don't get that.
Yeah. So track number 24? 24.
Okay.
So that's what people like associated it with. They were like, oh, well, she can't choose.
Mm-hmm.
This is about Tila.
So she can't choose a man or a woman.
She's confused.
It's
a phase.
Shit. Like, and then you have, so...
She's stumbling over her own thoughts about her anger.
I don't think she knows. Yeah.
That lack of confidence in her ability to there's something in her head that she wants to say about Tequila and how it had a negative effect on the outlook of bisexual people.
She just doesn't know what she's saying or how to say it.
That's all she was trying to say.
Yeah.
But she took about 12 minutes to discuss these kinds of things.
But do they ever get to the bottom of that?
Not really. No.
Let's move on to the next topic. Nah.
So, I'm going to skip a few things here. If you go to number 28, so Siri talks about people who are in the porn industry.
Mm-hmm.
And she gives her perspective. So, track number 28.
So, do people consider themselves monogamous in the porn industry, even though they're having a lot of sex with other people, just because it's like, oh, well, this is a job and this is my person?
It must be one of those things in the porn industry where it'd be very hard to say that, yes, I'm monogamous.
I think no, you can't. You're not. I'm sure Jess would agree with this. You'd have a tough time convincing Jess that this is just work.
Well, look, I've been banned off Pornhub 2 times from 2 different podcasts now, so I'm officially I can never be a porn star just because of that reason.
That's the only reason for us, unfortunately.
That's it. That's the
all
only
it
reason.
is.
That's it. That's it. Look, I don't really have too much more from this show, but I did hear something that made me think that maybe they should have just started the recording all over again.
Yep.
Track number 29.
A lot. I would say that almost the majority of porn performers do, and I'm not like.
That's like
I would have to go do an official survey.
Yeah, it's like there's no
But
shame in
just-
that. I just think
yeah.
it's interesting. It's like that they would.
That's the washer in the background because I think that sounds gonna get picked up. So I'm just gonna say what it is.
Like,
That was the only time that I actually stopped for a second. I'm like, oh, we're onto something here. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. She was just pointing it out, but it's like they finally stopped on something and it was definitive and they got it right.
yeah, exactly right. That was the
But
most...
the washing machine is just like the chair fiasco.
That was at the start of the show. This is at the end of the show. But Damien, I think you noticed this as well. This is a very special episode. So they spent 23 minutes of this 55-minute episode talking about absolutely nothing. They talked maybe half an hour about bisexuality by stumbling over their own words, thoughts, feelings, and understandings.
I just saw the title of the next part, and this is exactly what I was thinking when the episode... Oh, so I had my headphones in, phone in the pocket. Episode finished, and then they started talking again. I'm like, what? Let's listen to the audio.
This is the audio. Number 30.
Hey everybody, there's more of this episode to come, but because Rachel and I had so much to talk about, we've decided to split it into a 2-part episode.
What did you...
There's more!
There was nothing to talk about.
You could have gotten rid of the first 23 minutes of that show. And
They should have just played the chair, Jude, and the washing machine. And we have a comedy podcast.
I could have edited down this show. Like I should have done it. Like I usually get all the flubs and then going and all those sort of sounds. Mm-hmm. I should have done it, but I just couldn't be bothered. It's a lot of work.
No, I totally get it.
But you could have gotten rid of all of those items within this podcast, and the show would have been like a solid 20 to 25 minutes.
I think solid is a bit of a stretch, but 25 minutes.
25 minutes.
Part of me wants to listen to the second part because maybe that's where it's all going to tie itself together. But the nerve to have a 2-part, like, at least when you had your red flag one, you said, okay, this is there's a fair bit to talk about. Where 15 minutes in, we have to take this to a second episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. I listened to that podcast. I thought it was good. There is plenty to talk about, and I want to listen to it. No part of this. Cue the Billy Madison quote, but there was.
It's so true.
Nothing was coherent.
The lack of cohesion between thoughts, and they during the episode they try to answer questions from Instagram and Twitter and this and that, and they could have taken all that bit out too because they just read out troll questions.
There was nothing there. I thought they were going to get a few questions, read them out, answer them, properly, question, answer, back and forth, but nothing.
There was nothing in that at all. Again, you could have knocked this down to a 25-minute episode, and I think the next episode's about 40 to 50 minutes, and I'm sure if you got rid of the flubs, maybe the chair moving again, and maybe Jude doing the laundry in the background once again,
we have a solid sound check.
You could do a solid, maybe, you know what? Here's a simple thing for podcasters who are starting out. If you hang sheets around you, right? So if you put a sheet behind you and a sheet like on that side there, you're more likely to cancel out the sounds coming, like that reverberation from your own voice into the microphone and from outside sounds coming in because the curtain or the sheet will stop it. Or go into an area that's away from other things.
I think you're giving this too much work to do that. I think before they even worry about audio quality and cancelling out sounds, have an idea. That's the most important part. Have an idea, have a little bit of a structure, talk about something.
Yes.
And then you can work on the sound. Like, I totally agree with you, but there was nothing there. That was
I've also never heard of a podcast that tries to plug their Patreon at the start of the show.
Yes.
Usually
And this is what I want to pat you on the back.
If you liked all this sort of stuff that we talked about, we actually own a Patreon. get on in on it. Like, follow us here and there. I mean, that's how we structure ours, and every single podcast I've ever listened to structures theirs. And this one here happens to do it at the 16th minute after they've talked about a story of how they're going to go away for a little bit, how her dad hit a woman in his car.
That was arguably the most exciting part of the story. But if anyone wants to know, her stepmother was hit by a car, but she wasn't hit by a car.
No,
it was a non-story.
It was a 10 out of 10 for content and quality, I must admit. But that is, if you want to listen to it, it's called After Adult.
Can you do us a favor? Do everyone listen to the second episode and then tell us if it's worth listening to, because this one was... I've had fun doing the podcast, but geez, this was painful to listen to.
It was bad.
I would almost... actually, I've got to say one more thing. Sorry to cut you off there.
Please.
But at least the red flag, whether you agree with them or not, and they were batshit crazy, and I was just yelling myself while listening to it, at least they had a point, some sort of structure. There was a lot of ums, ahs, yeahs, likes, whatever. Lots of shit you had to edit out, but at least they had something to talk about, and you could sort of debate that. This was just shit.
Like I said, cohesion is very important, and having a structure in your head and a way that you're going to answer questions and talk about things, and keeping a consistent flow, like the radio. The radio doesn't have dead air.
Yeah, that's important. You just edit out the dead air.
Keep that
keep
sort of
the flow
thing
going.
I think that's going to be... It'll make your show a lot better. I might message her with all these comments here and just say, hey, we'll come on your show. We'll talk about regular guy stuff. What can I say?
We will create the content. They can create the background sounds. Like, I'm sure we could do it better.
I've already got the chair sound and maybe a washing machine. I can isolate that, and that'll be it. We can
Sorted.
have a nice soothing sounds of their household.
I'll sort out the Patreon.
That's right. No forget about that. Well, Damien, I think we're going to wrap it up there. It's been lots of fun today.
It has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for co-hosting. It was you're a lot easier to manage than Kieran.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, Kieran, you may have lost your job, but you're welcome back anytime on the We Only Do One Take podcast. Actually, before I leave, do you mind if I plug one thing?
Absolutely.
And this is just a favor I'm trying to do for my nephew. He's only 6 years old. He's been stuck at home for a long time because obviously school's out with coronavirus and whatnot, and he wanted to learn how to play the piano, but obviously school's out, so he's been trying to teach himself. And I would say he's done a pretty good job considering the circumstances. Mm-hmm. And but hang on a second. Cool. Mm. Yeah. So he's been doing a pretty good job teaching himself, and he's wanted to start a YouTube channel. So for months, he's like, "Oh, Uncle Damien, can we start a YouTube channel?" I'm like, I don't have the time to do that. But if you come up with an idea, I'll gladly, edit it for you. So anyway, the other night I got a message from his mum, my sister-in-law, and she says, "Axel's got a channel. Can you subscribe to it? Give him a thumbs up." And watched the video and just loved it. Good on the kid. So coming back to the start, the reason why I'm bringing this up is if everyone could just help the kid out, just Axel TV on YouTube. Maybe if you could put this somewhere in the show notes or something.
Absolutely.
If you could he's only got 2 videos so far. It's just a couple of piano videos that go for a minute or two. If you could just give the guy a thumbs up, subscribe, and just help the kid out a little bit.
And how do you spell Axel?
That's AXLE.
etv.com on YouTube. They're fantastic.
On the
Absolutely.
YouTubes.
I'll have to do that as well.
I appreciate it. If you could do that.
Things. Excellent. And for all of our wankers out there, for all your wanking needs, make sure you follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you'd like to send us some hate mail, a death threat, or a rant, record it on your phone and email us at weonlydoontakepodcast@gmail.com. One day we will also have an OnlyFans account, and I will get naked / topless photos of Kieran. But for now, we don't have it. Damien, thank you so much for being on the show today.
No worries. Thank you again.
And we will see you next Thursday. on a different day Monday to Thursday, so I don't know if that ending's going to fit, but that's okay. It's sort of my sign off.
It'll work out fine. It'll be fine. Well, that was good fun.
Thanks for coming on.
Nah, that's all right. If anytime, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome.
If you got any episodes you want to review or. No.
That was fun. Oh, if you find a shit podcast like that to review, man, I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're cool with that, if you've got a few days or a few weeks without an episode and you need something to talk about, I'll send you a message and we can throw something together if you need to just fill in the time.
Awesome.